So hopefully you found the photo of Lisbon I'm going to be working from. It's in the description of the video, but I can share it in the chat here in case you didn't see that. So I really liked in this picture, like the clothes hanging outside are super cute, and that little window of light seemed really interesting to try to work with. I'm gonna depart from this a little bit as well. I don't really have a plan for what I'm doing, but I feel like that's kind of useful for people to see, just like the improvisational sketching process that happens, and I will just externalize my inner monologue while I'm working on it. So I'm working on this Etchr Perfect Sketchbook, the extra large one. I'm just really loving paper lately. It's super nice for watercolor. Like, it is really good paper. So I've been using the sketchbook as like a studies book. So painting in the studio. And I recently took it to San Francisco and did some location drawing. And it's just the paper, the paint just shows up so vibrantly on the paper. It's been just very satisfying to work on. So I thought, why not use it for this demo? Yeah, I think the more watercolor I stick with, the better. Like, just really let the watercolor shine, I think. Let it do its thing. I'm grabbing this little Viviva color palette here. This is the spring palette. I think it's kind of filthy, but I really like these colors. They're pretty interesting. The name of the sketchbook is the Etchr Perfect Sketchbook. Etchr. Full disclosure, that was a little gift they sent me a while ago. But I do really, it is really nice. If you want like a nice watercolor sketchbook, it's not super casual and it is quite heavy, which is why I don't really bring it outside very much. It is super expensive, but it is really good. I'm going to start, as I was saying, since I'm wanting the watercolor to be very front and center in this, I'm going to just start with some watercolor washes to establish the composition here. And I think I can turn the light up so maybe it looks less cave-like. A little better, kind of. It's not great. Don't know how to fix that. Something I thought was interesting in this image as well is like the contrast of light, or not light, the contrast of warm and cool. So I want to play with that and like really highlight the difference in the temperature of the light and the shadows. So just kind of gonna put some cool tones in here. Kind of just grabbing stuff from this end of the palette. Maybe just mixing them all up, seeing what happens. I think these colors are really rich. So this like powder blue I get with this lavender and teal seems nice to start with. And no sketching first, because just gonna go for it. I recently found this brush in my, oh, can you focus, please? Please focus. I found this brush in my studio box here, and I like this round tip it has. It makes like a very graphic line that you cannot get fussy with this brush. It just won't let you. So that seemed like a good place to start. I like the little rounded ends to it that it gives you. So this will be our right side building here. It does look like a makeup brush, but it is a Blick brand, and I'm pretty sure they're not into makeup. Since this stuff down here is so blue and cool, I probably won't do a blue for the sky, I think, because I think that sky blue is kind of ugly. And it's just gonna, it doesn't really have a vibe to it. It's just like, if this scene to me feels like sunset, and I don't want, the blue sky is not sunset. I'm bringing some warm tones in here to gray out the cool tones. And like kind of thinking about the shape of this watercolor area here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So you can see the full page. Thinking about the relationship of the negative space to the positive space and how that just looks sitting on this piece of paper here. I want it to be interesting and visually pleasing just as a shape itself. So maybe like fading it out over here. And then up in the background, there's this other layer of those, like a tree line, some little orange roofed buildings up there. I think I'll just do like a hint of that for now and just kind of place that here. So I can see it kind of hits this top of this little middle building here. And don't want it to be too light, so we're just like kind of putting something in there. Now you can't really see it. It's okay, we'll get this. This is the dry run. I think the orange of the roofs is a really interesting color, so I'm gonna definitely bring that in, and I think there's a nice echo of that color in the laundry hanging outside too. And this palette has a really good, super bright orange. But I'm going to tone it down just a little bit by putting a tiny bit of this blue in there, just to kind of tie these areas together. It's tough because the light hitting that area is really intense, but the color itself is also intense. And I want to leave some white areas to show like the brightness of that light. So there's a lot of decisions I'm making here. I did not choose the easiest reference picture, that's for sure. But for me, if I knew exactly what I was doing all the time, I would be kind of bored. So solving problems is always the fun part, the exhilarating part. This is going to be all about blue and orange. And the white, I'm going to leave this area really white, but it needs a little definition. Well, I just got this feeling like I hope I can pull this off and it works out. I just got kind of scared. But I also know I can probably figure it out. This is very wet still here. You can see the bright parts are getting very overexposed here. Another important part is the shadow of those laundry things hanging outside. So I wanted there to be some room for that to put in. Let's see. This is very wet. I can put my side of my hand on it and it's just super damp right now. So I can't put any details in there. I'm going to think if I can do anything else while it's still wet. And the only other like big shape I think I want to work with right now would be the sky, but I don't feel ready to commit to a sky yet. So I think I'm going to use my hair dryer and blow dry this wet watercolor. This is a handy tool from me being in high school. Now it's just a studio tool. All right, do you guys want to hear my hair dryer or do you not want to hear my hair dryer? I'm going to go with no. Okay, for a second, I'm going to fix something that was bothering me. This little corner here, I don't like how it's going down. I feel like that's weird and kind of tangenty. So while it's still wet, I'm going to make it a square shape. Oh, so much better, so much better. Maybe just pull this out a little bit as well. Man, it's really hard to see the light stuff. I feel like this has never been a problem before. Yes, it does blow paint all over the paper sometimes, especially if you have like a pile of water, it can just go whoosh. But this paper is very absorbent. All right, that's all dry now. I can just scrub it around. It just feels very safe to paint on now. Now I have my main composition blocked in. It's very complicated, this whole picture. Did not make this easy for myself, especially not with sketching first. But I'm gonna do block in some windows with a square brush. These windows are square. I'm gonna make it easy. Some things are easy. Then I will mix up a neutral between the blue and the orange, using only colors I've already used. And I like how the lighter value colors in this palette, when you use them, they make like a chalky mix. It's kind of cool, kind of nice. So I'm going to try that. Let's get some idea of windows. And it's kind of nice to just use this in a, like in the shadow area, and I might change the color for the area in the light to emphasize that it is like just a whole different value, different feeling in that area. Instead of just relying on the watercolor to like do all the nice transparent layering stuff on top, it's kind of nice to help it a little bit like that. Like as if you were painting with acrylics or something where it's opaque and you have to mix all those colors by yourself. All right, this is I have successfully fit all of the windows in, but I jumped the gun and put the ground in too easily, too early. I can just wipe it off. And of course, I do want to fit that white scooter on the right side in, so I'm just going to leave this area empty for right now. Filling in some negative shapes. And I will come back and put lines in this eventually. Probably eventually, most likely eventually. So I know if something really isn't working, I can kind of rescue it later. But I'm going to get as far as I can with the watercolor. Everything in the shadows. This pink color is kind of interesting too. And the thing with like doing this laundry hanging outside is you can make that laundry whatever color you want. I'm not going to follow it exactly as it is in the picture. I'm going to design it to make it work for me. But I do like that pink color on the left side building. It's like very Lisbon. Again, I like the mixing with the light colors to get interesting, desaturated but intense watercolors. That's the idea anyway. Oh yeah, did I just mess up this? So that should be more like that. Okay, perspective is important. Especially where things hit the ground. Kind of can't fake that if you mess it up. It's starting to take shape here. I think some of this pink mix might be nice. Oh gosh, that's so dark. Just wet it out. That'll be nice up here. Ooh, Amber alert. Did any Seattle people get an Amber alert just now? I'm glad my phone volume was off because those are the most ear-splitting alerts ever. So this is looking like a building. That's good. Looking at this window, there's very interesting reflected light on this building. That's like the one that's this one here that's like facing away. There's a really strong reflection of the roof next door because I think this is looks like one of the tile buildings, so reflections are pretty interesting there. I don't know if I'm gonna include that, but it's a nice detail to see. and to say, hey, that's pretty cool. You can throw some orange on there. Just an excuse for more orange. Yeah, just put that on. All right, there's like, I see there's a big old tree here. I will probably put that in last because I don't know what's going on behind that tree. I don't want to have to make it up, but we can do that later. I think I'm gonna kind of draw the roof of this left side building, so it's very weird and complicated in my orange. Everyone got the alert. Ooh, that's so... What is in my paint? There's like another paint in my paint. That is not what you want in your nice orange color. Do some surgery. Wow, it's really in there. I have no idea what this is. But it really has to get out immediately. It is just ruining this whole paint. Away with you. That's an odd thing. That's odd. Very odd. And yet, I'm sure it was my fault. Yeah, it's just so sad when you ruin your paint like this. I'm going to try to get some of that out. Okay, trying again using this Escoda perla brush. Can you see it? This is like a Urban Sketchers Symposium gift at some point. It's a nice little dagger. Okay, so this thing is a little, what is this, dormer? A little dormer sticking out. I'm just trying to draw the orange parts. And instead of filling the whole thing in with orange, I think I should just do some tile, suggestion of tiles, because that's always a fun pattern to throw on there. And if it doesn't work, I can always paint over it. All right, just kind of fade. This is kind of nice, this bit of light out there. Those little happy accidents. So delightful. Okay, I'm gonna just keep going, I guess, with these orange roofs because they're so fun. So Portugal. Getting just some, I don't think I need to be really specific with any of these buildings. It's kind of gonna be a implied distant buildings because I want the focus to be in this front layer. It's a bit intense, so I think I'll mix into that pink that I made before, kind of lighten up the orange, get it a little desaturated. So it still connects to this orange, but it's not as intense and eye-catching. And we can add like some windows and stuff like that. I don't know what this, there's like a tall building here or something. Sure, we'll just put him in there and maybe erase later or put a tree in front of it. Yeah, just like filling this area with some kind of detail. The detail itself is not that important. It's more like there's something there and there's a bunch of shapes that look like something recognizable. And I think all you really need to do is like some windows with this, and it will get the idea across. So, okay, I'm going to leave it alone for now and see how it works with more of this front area developed. And I also want to put that line of trees over there. Okay, I think going back to my front, what should I do? I think the windows need a little more definition, but I don't know how much yet because so much has not been filled in at all. I'm going general to specific here. And a really good way to keep stuff being general is using bigger brushes. Like I'm not using detail brushes yet. And maybe it's time to use some line. Because I think some of the stuff down here I will have to do the line anyway. Yeah, let's do that. What should I use? Let's see. The thing I really want to use is in a different room, so I'm going to just sprint up my stairs and go grab it. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got my little pouch of line makers. The thing I was excited about is this broken fountain pen someone gave me a while ago, and I think it was just like modified a little poorly because the tines kind of split. But I learned yesterday when I was cleaning my office, it's pretty good as a dip pen, so I want to try that again. So this is what it looks like. It has a little tiny little bent fude nib, but the ink just doesn't flow out of it if you use it like a regular fountain pen. And then this is a little mix of platinum carbon ink. Oh, running to get the kakimori. I do love the kakimori. Let's try this first, and then maybe we'll bring some of that in. Kakimori dip pen. Okay, I think I'm gonna start with this lady. Where should I put her though? Yeah, I kind of messed up this door scale. Oh, maybe this isn't going to work on the paper very well. Oh no, there we go. It's a lot skinnier of a line than the kakimori dip pen, which is good and bad. This paper is quite textured, so sometimes fountain pens like don't really like it that much. I'll put this lady next to the door because maybe she lives here. I just really don't want to mess up the proportion. Like, I don't want her to be super tiny. It's a lot easier when there's stuff on the street already. But let's see. These doors in Lisbon are like really extra tall sometimes. Otherwise I would try to fit her in the door. Maybe she's like, she comes up to here or something. Okay. Just have to like stretch her legs out to meet the ground, wherever the ground may be. Oh, that feels like such a relief, just getting that down. All right, a simple lady. She looks really tall, but oh well. Oh well. Hopefully there'll be other stuff here that looks good that will distract people. I think I'm only going to use this dark ink in the shadow areas. And I might do something else in the light areas because again, that like, I believe it's called heightening when you emphasize those differences in value. Gets pretty vibey. Here's a fancy lantern. Put some swirlies in here. I wanted it to stick out just a little bit past this this building because in the photo there's a tangent with the right side of the lamp and that building, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's got to just overlap it a little bit more than it actually is. Wow, it's 5:36 already. And feel free to ask any questions in the chat as well. It can be about this sketch or it can be about other stuff as well. We can talk about the weather. I just saw a rainbow on the way home. It was pretty cool. There's a huge puddle of ink where this lantern is, so I'm going to try really hard to not put my hand in it. See that puddle? That's very dangerous. But that's what you get when you're using dip pens. It's not, maybe not for the faint of heart. We can't forget to put the clothing in. So maybe I should do that now. So there's two lines of clothing, obviously. I'm like dipping it into the ink puddle, but it's not really letting me get a thin line like I want. Let's see. Sometimes shapes of clothes are like really, I don't know what they are. Like if we really look at these clothing pieces out there, there's quite a range of shapes, patterns. There's like a nice skirt that's kind of blowing in the wind. I'm going to take that one. I guess it doesn't have to be super specific. It can kind of just be squares and rectangles. People will get it. some pants up. Yeah, five things here. Maybe one more. I'm going to put some socks in. There we go. And then up here, there's another one. I'm going to put this as a line, but I'm not going to draw any clothing in the top. I can also see in the reference that the top clothesline is shorter than the bottom one, but I'm just going to make them the same length because I want to show off this light technique thing that I'm excited about. So it needs to cross into the shadow a little more. I'm also not worried about like crossing over the window here because it's not that dark. And then it's going to stop right here for now. Just, yeah, cutting off at that edge. Let's see, Andrew said, how often do you watercolor first on location? Yeah, it is a pain to get it to dry. I think using good absorbent paper helps. Like this stuff. I started doing that kind of thing in the Seattle winter when it's super rainy. I think because I was like, you know, impatient. It takes forever to dry. And if you just do like a really light, simple wash, it doesn't take super long to dry as long as the paper actually will absorb it. And just doing it in like 1 minute and not getting fussy with it. Oh, another advice I have is to do 2 paintings at once so you can distract yourself when you're impatient. Okay, this is coming together. Well, there's some funny anecdotes in the chat about setting stuff on fire accidentally. I've never done that yet. This is the first time for everything. Okay, some other details down here at the street level. Scooter, these posts that are very Lisbon, also some trash cans. I maybe won't do all the trash cans, but I will do one trash can. Like this one. This one back here doesn't really get in the way of like our eye going through this. I think if I did more of them, it's kind of going to get too cramped in there. There's a nice blue sign on this building back here. I think I'll maybe bring some saturated blue in later. And there's also a door. Want it to be same height with this door. Gets into the lamp a little bit. Oh yeah, also there's the comment about CMC. I honestly forgot what that is. So maybe you could enlighten people about that. Because there's a lot of people use their hands here. Oh yeah, scooter. Gotta have a scooter. This one has a very, very like exaggerated shape. Might be partially the camera angle. Or maybe scooters are just like that sometimes. Oh, one of my pet peeves is when people draw motorcycles and scooters without kickstands. I'm like, that is gonna fall over if you don't lean it on something. It's like you gotta think about this stuff. Take responsibility for those scooters that you're drawing. That's a funny scooter. Yes, I am looking at the picture, but I also wanted to look like I don't need to go tons of detail with it. Most important is the silhouette. Okay, I'm gonna start finishing with this ink layer. I think there's pretty much enough details right now. Maybe I don't want to do too much in these windows up here because there's going to be a bunch of points of interest when I put color in the laundry shapes. So you can always come back and do more, but it's such a pain when you do too much and you're like, no, I ruined it. I can't. I have to. It's just ruined. And I think I'm not gonna super define this building. I think this edge is enough. Even though it's kind of wobbly, it's fine. I don't need to outline everything since the shape is doing a lot of the heavy lifting already. Oh, some detail I think would be cool is some of these antennas on top. Just because they're like lines themselves. Definitely makes sense to do them with a line tool like this dead fountain pen. Some of them are breaking the ceiling here, just going off the page. I like that they're overlapping a little chaotically. That's enough, I think. That's enough for now. Okay, back here. Oh, I'm so relieved that this passed the scary what am I doing phase. Oops, big blob. Big blob of ink. But that's what makes it real. This was not made by a stupid AI machine. This was made by my hands and some little tiny bits of like rocks in water in a solution. And sometimes that stuff makes puddles on your paper. Another thing I like in this scene, I haven't tackled this at all yet, is the curve of the street going around the bend. And there's a little nice bit of texture on the pretty much every like pedestrian area in Lisbon. They have all these square tiles on the ground. So I think I have to put some of those in. Otherwise, it's not really Portugal. And there's a bunch of wires and stuff here. I don't need to do all of them, but it's also kind of a nice like divider to this upper floor of the building. Some curvy shapes to balance all of these square shapes. There's like a bunch of electric boxes and whatnot on the wall. I have no idea what those are. But kind of a fun detail that makes it seem more alive, more real. Okay, I'm going to move on to a new thing. So putting this dip pen thing away. Since there was a request, I am going to use the kakimori pen just for a second, maybe. I want to make those posts with a thicker line. I don't want to fiddle with like the tiny lines. So this is the kakimori dip pen. Very nice tool here. It has lots of different channels to fill with ink. So you can draw a lot with just one dip into an ink reservoir. And you can hold it at an angle to get different kinds of lines. Like this. It's super satisfying, I think, in a drawing to have like a bunch of skinny lines and then some really fat lines. Like so. It kind of leads your eye through. And then we need, I think that group of the lines on the other side is so nice, with one of them just being a little bit like tilted visually. You guys hear the sound? Interesting what is being picked up. But yeah, dragging on the tooth of the papers. Also pretty nice to draw with. And I can fill in these shapes really fast just using the side of it like this. It's a lot faster to draw with than that dip pen I was doing earlier. Get some spot blacks in. Yeah. It's coming together. What else needs to be done here? I do not like this post or this like building sticking up back there. I'll have to do something about that later. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna do maybe some of this other lighting effect I was talking about. So I just grabbed another ink from my little shelf over there. This is a liquid watercolor actually in a light amber, which will be nice for doing these lighting effect up here. Just cleaning the dark ink off. And then maybe blotting this a bit so it doesn't get on my hand and then get smeared around the paper. That is really sad when you're like, oh, it's just turning out so well. And then you just smear it everywhere. I can do a test. Oh, it's too big. It doesn't fit. Okay. There's a little test here of the orange amber liquid watercolor. It's not flowing that well, so maybe with a little water. Yeah, that's nice. Can you see this at all? Yeah. I like how the ink isn't totally like the same in every line. It settles differently. So now I'm just going to finish this drawing in the light area with this new color and see if this works. Just like carrying the lines across the gulf between, just drawing normally. And then getting this, I can try to hold it up a little more. Looks like mostly towels and linens up here. Then on this top level, there's some really nice shadows of these things hanging outside. I'm not sure what color I'm going to do it with. I guess logically it would make sense to do it with this blue color because that's like the shadow color. But I don't know yet. I don't know yet. And do some more details back here. Define some of this area. Yeah, maybe this weird tower just needed a roof and it looks a little better. Still considering covering most of that up, so there's always an option. Get some tree shapes. Kind of a nice, I think I did this too big. Because there's like all these little shapes here now. There's like circle shapes here and a bunch of square shapes here. They're both kind of the same size. And I don't love that. So I think I'm just gonna blur it all together using water. This amber is such a Portugal color. I feel like everything you see a lot of golden light and stuff like that. So nice. So I find myself using this amber color a lot when I do Lisbon paintings. Then I can bring it down here into the laundry as just like a spot color. So it's not really about the light or the dark. It's more about just the local color of these objects. And then maybe her shirt is yellow too. Just like connecting it around the picture so it looks more unified. Oh, and maybe some window details. Of course, the shades are closed because it's so hot and bright. All right, this is coming along. Now I think this area is bothering me because this roof is really blending in to this background area. And it's kind of looking weird. So I'll go back with my little fountain pen, dip pen, and bring it forward by outlining it. Even though it's supposed to be in the light in the photo, it reads more as being in the shadow because it's has very cool undertones. So I'm just gonna kind of group it with this front area. And still the area of highest contrast is definitely up here. So that's good. I can always bring this a little darker, add a little shadow. All right, we are over an hour, but I had a bit of a slow start. I think I can finish this up in like 10 or 15 minutes though. Yeah, I think a little tree off to the side here would be a nice element, but this all has to dry first. So while I'm waiting for that to happen, I'll add some color in some laundry and also seal up all of my ink so there are no unfortunate accidents. To do that, I could either use the water. I'm going to use a little watercolor, but then I might use some colored pencils or something. Just using some of the colors that have been used already. I want to preserve quite a bit of white space here. So I don't want to fill all of this stuff in, but I do want it to be filled in a little bit. And I think I need to make a green because this is not really reading like trees back here. But I don't want there to be like a totally new random green. So I'll take some of my amber, which is the closest, it's like the only yellow I have right now. And I will mix some of the blue from earlier in it and see what happens. Okay, that's a good green. So I don't want to bring a new green in. I don't want to add new random colors at this point because we have like a yellow, a red, and a blue. I can make lots of colors from those combinations. Do this green towel. The stuff that's in the shadow, I'm going to color in completely because I really want to preserve this feeling of light up there. You can't get it back once you lose it. A fun thing to play with is like pattern in laundry, hanging laundry like this. You can kind of do whatever you want. So I'm being inspired by some of the stuff that's there, but I'm also not like 100% committed to copying it. Just a good time, a good opportunity to get some really saturated color out. It's just fun. It's like the charm of this. See some red. Cannot really get a red with the colors we have, alas. but I'm feeling pretty committed to keeping the limited color palette in right now. I don't want to add more stuff at random. But there is some of this lavender color in there, like hiding in this mix. So I think we could do that. It's a bit opaque, so maybe it'll cover up that window area too. And I want to make a pretty dark value here, like a dark, super dark, cool value. And I will use it for a couple of these laundry things. And then I also want to use it for the street. I think that's a nice, interesting element, like this curve going around. But I'm also trying to like observe and respect this initial shape that I put down. So I'm just following the edge of what I already laid down at first, but in a new watercolor. So it's kind of tricky. It's kind of like tricking you a little bit how this all came together. I think this needs to go up there. And then while I have this, maybe it's a good time to do some of these shadows here. I think this is really gonna make a difference. Like make this feel convincing. And you also have to put it elsewhere because these things, there's like a shadow, a cast shadow, and then the overall building shadow that's being cast on this. Does that make sense? Like extra light is being blocked under these clothes. You can see it in the reference picture, but it's still quite wet. And I want this to be really sharp. So I'm going to wait on that. Maybe there's some other shadow places. Maybe she gets a shadow, occlusion shadow under the bike. If it's too intense, I can hit it with some water. So it's not supposed to be as sharp as like this shadow up here. Just like grounding all of these objects. Okay, we're really coming close to finishing this. I'm really torn about this tree over here now. It's like hard because there's no other real focus on vegetation or tree. So I could either like really go into it, kind of bridge this tree area with a foreground tree area, or I could just leave it. I think it's fine as it is. But some of these details I think are just not really helpful for the picture. Okay, chat, what do you think? This is the point of a live stream, right? What do you think, chat? Should I add the tree or not? Okay, if no one answers, I'm gonna I'll flip a coin. Yeah, some branches might balance. I think so. It's kind of distracting in reference photo. I'm glad everyone is on the same page here. I'm leaning towards adding it just for science, but doing like a very minimal interpretation of it. So kind of meeting in the middle. Yeah, for science, okay. It is really dark, but I think I can maybe bring some light into it. That is just like kind of a weird scraggly shape here. So I think I'm gonna start with it being light, and this will hopefully be the last thing I do here. Just put some of this liquid watercolor in my blue area and make some more green. It's like a dirty yellow right now. Yeah, so I think I'll just interpret it a little bit. I'm gonna make it less detailed, so bigger. You can kind of break up this big white space. And I decided I'm just not gonna add any sky color either. It's just gonna be white. Looking at the overall shape here, I think maybe it should go like up to here. I wasn't originally going to have it be that big, but I think it needs it now. That was not the right color. It's a little too brown in some areas, but I'm going to make a lot of this darker. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like different shape here. We'll see. We'll see. And it is really dark. It's very foreground. So I'm going to put some of this super dark ink in. Maybe mix a little blue watercolor. Is that crazy? Mixing watercolor with ink, is that even allowed? I mean, this paper is so nice. As I've said 100 times, I want to just see some cool watercolor effects here. That wet into wet blending. I wanted to keep some of the like sunlit edges here, but not be but it should still be dark, and so it looks like it's part of this foreground layer. I don't want to be afraid to cover up a bunch of stuff that I drew. Try not to get too attached to areas that I like. And a little, it's interesting, I think. Okay. And then with this pen, maybe just like pushing this ink around. I've never really done this before, so we'll see how that works. You can always go darker. Make it look more like a tree. I'm standing up to look from far. Oh, it's kind of interesting, but I also kind of don't like it. It doesn't feel like it is part of the whole treatment. I think it just needs a little bit of line. So my last step, I'm gonna hit this with my hair dryer so I can add a little bit of line to it. Okie dokie. Last bit. It's tree-ish. Yeah. Tree-esque. Maybe this is a better way to fill the pen. And then dip it in some water. In the same way that I did the lighter areas up here with the light ink color, I'm going to do the same with the tree. Just like outline a few leaves. And I don't think you have to be like overly literal about like, oh, this leaf has to be connected with the stick to the tree. It's like, I don't want to get all super bogged down in those details and get it really heavy. It's kind of like the impression of a tree more than an actual tree. Yeah, if you all are working on your own version of this, I'm very interested to see how your stuff turns out. And then last step, I will take this dark ink again for the lower area. Like maybe the light is hitting it more on the top. This kind of feels like late afternoon here. And it really makes it feel more convincingly sunlit, I think, to change the value of the line like that. This is all okay. It looks good in the video, but in my version, it feels like a little too much of the same angle of shape. But it's fine. Okay, I think this is cool. I'm calling this done before I can change my mind and do more stuff to it. Let's just take a look, because I think some of these details you can't see very well. This is a fun little experiment. Oh, the amber ink, this Schmincke aqua drop thing called Bernstein or Amber. Jenny Adam gave this to me. She's like clears out her studio and she's like, Eleanor would like this. And I do like it. Do I plan on doing more live like this? Yes, I think this was really fun. I'm really happy to see there's like a few dozen people still here an hour and 20 minutes in. That's really crazy and really awesome to me. I was planning on it being like a Substack paid subscriber thing, for instead of like the written process posts I was doing. But I think I'm still gonna do a few written process posts and also do stuff like this. So I'll figure that out. I would love for it to be like accessible for people, but I would also like to like provide a service to people. So if you think this was useful or inspiring, maybe it's worth a few dollars, you can consider being a Substack subscriber. I'll put my Substack in the chat. There's also a free tier that I post a lot of stuff on. It's just a nice alternative to Instagram, for sure. Instagram is mostly advertisements nowadays. I just want to connect with people and share drawings and have fun. So supply list. Yeah, I will repost this for people who couldn't make it, and I'll list all the stuff that I used for everybody. I was kind of just grabbing stuff at random because my errands took a really long time today. I think you'd get one live event per month. Feel free to message me more questions. I'm just figuring this out as well. But I'm really happy with how this painting turns out, and please tag me on Instagram if you drew this as well. I would love to see it, and I'd love to repost them as well. So that's it. Thanks for joining, everyone. This was really fun, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.